Welcome to Leaders Unfiltered, Season 2. Not really Season 2. Life has been lifing and it's been a bit busy, and this was not priority. But I'm excited for this so-called new season of Leaders Unfiltered. I've learned in the first season that it's not only about big titles, it's about having conversations with people who are interesting and intriguing. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this new season. Today's guest is both interesting and intriguing. He's a friend of mine who I really look up to. He's one of those stand-up guys who just excels in every aspect of life. But more than that, he's an amazing person. He's humble, he's excellent in everything he does, he's adventurous, and yes, he has done a few cool things in his short life so far. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris van der Meulen. Chris, what a treat having you here today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, Rudolph. Sure, it's a privilege to be here, to be in the space, to kick your season 2 off. Really excited about the conversations and having this time together.
I'm starting on a high for season 2. I think keeping it up after you is going to be quite something.
No.
But I'm so grateful to have you. For all of us, everyone listening, who are you?
So, as you said, my name is Chris van der Meulen. I grew up not in the beautiful area of Cape Town. I born and bred Joburger, and I think if you ask that question, it really goes down to, I think, the core. I think it's easy to maybe look at our occupation and use that to say who we are. But firstly, I'm a child of God, and my faith is central to everything I do. I am married to a lovely lady, Raquel, and I also co-founded a crypto trading business just over a year ago. So I'm currently doing that full time.
That's such a polished answer, and you are such a polished guy, so I didn't expect anything else. But what I love about you is you appear polished to all of us. You appear like someone who's got everything in place, but we know you are so humble and vulnerable as well, and that comes down to who you are at your core, as you've just mentioned. Up till now, what has life looked like? Take us back to being in Joburg, those dark days. I'm joking, but what was your upbringing like? School, varsity, up until where you are now?
I had a really special childhood, and I think the family dynamic that my parents created for us has really been a springboard for me and my younger brother. We grew up in a home where both my parents are in the medical profession, actually in dentistry. So my mom is a dentist, and my dad went on to specialize further as a prosthodontist. And we can maybe touch on it a bit later, but I think the lessons that they learned in pursuing that occupation has really shaped my view on the world, and also where to apply my efforts and where to look for opportunities to add value in the world. But we grew up in a home that had a lot of adventure in it. My dad from an early age got us into motocross riding, some fly fishing, mountain biking, surfing. My butt recently got me into the kite surfing as well. So that legacy continues. And that was really special because I think we had a space and an environment where there was a lot of love and care and concern for us as two brothers, but also this challenge in terms of that adventure dynamic, that we were always being pushed to take a bit of a risk here and there, see how much further we could jump on motocross bikes, or who could beat the other around the track. And I think that created, I think, a special appreciation for taking a risk, and assessing when one should take that risk, and to what degree. So yeah, I think I turned 30 this year, and it was a moment where I look back on the years so far, and I think you start to realize how much impact your childhood has on where you are today, and how you think about the world, and approach it. So that was a really, I think, special environment to grow up in, and yeah, that world was very much Joburg growing up. I was in the same school from when I started in primary to when I finished in high school, and so I think I also had a very specific, I think, view of what I thought the world looked like, and in my later years that has been challenged a lot, and I think I've grown a lot with that as well. But yeah, grateful for that journey, and where it's led today.
Tell me more about life after school as well. So that was your Joburg life, finished matric, and then you moved down to Stellenbosch.
Yes, that's right. So I had the opportunity to study the BAC-LLB program at Stellies, and the thinking around that was, I my brother had actually spoken to someone who had been in business for many years in that season in high school, when we were thinking around what to study, how to position ourselves for the future. And he sort of bucketed business into these three categories of product, the accounting and finance aspect, and then the legal aspect. And he said, often you might cover one of these fields and be really good at it, but to really do well in the business world or operate effectively, it's helpful to have the skills and tools to serve all three areas. So I looked at the accounting and law, and I thought, okay, I can cover two of those aspects of those three in this degree. So let me give it a shot and go for it. And that was an amazing journey. It meant I had to study a little bit longer because of the 2 degrees. So I ended up studying for 6 years, after having chosen the chartered accounting track, as opposed to the legal one. But it was a time that really defined a lot of who I am today. I think stepping into that res environment, meeting people from parts of the country that I'd never heard of before, was a special process, and I've taken friends from that time who I'm still really close to today, and who continue to shape the person that I am. So really grateful for that. And I think looking back, that was a season of equipping, of being given a set of tools that you can draw on in different phases of life. And yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have received that skill set.
And then finishing your honors, you made the move to Investec.
Yes, that's right.
Back to Joburg.
Yes, back to Joburg. So, yeah, the most of the banks in SA still operate a lot of their grad programs out of Joburg. So, for me, when I thought about the opportunity to do articles in the banking space, I looked at it and I thought this was an industry that really excited me, and then I effectively ended in a position where I could pursue the chartered accounting qualification while also gaining the experience and working in an industry that I felt really excited about. So that was almost a privileged position to be in. I realize not everyone has that opportunity to, yeah, maybe to catch myself there. I think often we pursue a qualification and it feels like a grudge process, and often it entails doing work that we wouldn't necessarily want to be doing for the rest of our lives.
Mm.
But I think I came in there and I realized that this is really what I have a passion in my heart for, and to be able to almost receive the qualification on the side
Mm.
while I was doing that was I was really grateful for that. And then went through that process. So that was, I spent 4 or 5 years at Investec. The program is a rotational one initially, so you're spending a bit of time, about 6 months, with each of the different teams, and did the sort of mandatory rotations in your accounting and auditing roles, and then had the opportunity to get more into the client facing front office roles that most of your CA clerks are gunning for in that phase. And I think there I quickly realized, after having spent some time in one of the lending teams as well, that wasn't necessarily a aspect or a space in the financial services world that I wanted to end up in. And it almost clarified this innate interest that I'd had for many years in financial markets and trading. And maybe to go back a little bit to growing up, I think one of the defining moments in my childhood was early on, when I was probably 10, 11 years old. My dad had bought me my first shares, and he told me, you now have ownership of a portion of this company, and there are people flying all around the world on your behalf. And as a little guy, I was like, this is the coolest concept I've heard in my life so far. And I would go around telling all my friends that there's guys flying around the world for me.
For my business.
Yes. And that really stuck, and I think struck a chord with me. And I'd been sort of dabbling with trading on the side growing up and in university. And after that experience at Investec, and in those roles, I felt like this was really the space that I was called to. It was this sort of recurring theme in my life that I felt I would pursue a track and then come back to this space, try something else, and then find myself back in that trading world. And then got the opportunity to join one of the trading desks at Investec. A couple amazing people opened doors for me, took a chance on me, and said, we know CAs don't typically end up here because they don't want to make mistakes, and they typically like getting everything right. But on the trading floor, you're going to make mistakes. And that was really the learning school that set me up for starting the business that I have the privilege of running at the moment.
Just in summary, what exactly do you guys do in your current business?
So we are a crypto market making quantitative trading firm. So we aren't a hedge fund in the typical sense that we'll look at the price of Bitcoin and we think, okay, over the next 6 to 12 months, there's a 10 to 20% upside here. So we're gonna jump in there and hold for that time. A lot of what we do is based on what I saw happening in traditional markets from that Investec experience, and that is effectively providing liquidity to the crypto market. So whenever you come into a crypto exchange and you're looking to buy or sell some of your crypto, there are bids or offers that exist in that market that you will trade against. And the more of those bids and offers that are there, the higher likelihood that you're going to get a fair price when you're buying or selling. So that's effectively what we're trying to do, is in a clever way provide that liquidity on the different venues, so that when people come in, they receive fair prices for the trades that they are looking to make. And in exchange for that, we try do it in a way where we capture a bit of a return in that process.
Very good for you, because that's just over my head completely. I'm like, you go, boy. Awesome. Chris, thanks for painting that picture of your life so far, from growing up in a great family to where you are today with your own family in Cape Town and doing your own thing. You mentioned, and I'm glad you mentioned this, 11-year-old Chris getting his first shares. You started coloring in that picture of what you really enjoy and what you hope for life to be like. What you're doing now, as you sit here today, has this always been the plan? I'm thinking Berek LLB, big corporate at Investec, and then eventually, when the time's right, do your own thing, marry an amazing woman. Has that always been the plan, and has it gone accordingly?
I think in broad strokes, if I look back on what the dream was, I can really say that I am where I am now, really, or let me phrase it better, that where I am now is a fulfillment of a dream. And I am incredibly blessed to be in the space that I am at the moment. And I often catch myself just taking a step back and looking at what I have received with immense gratitude. And so where I am now, I can't imagine a better place to be in. I really feel like I'm doing what I should be doing, working with the people that I should be working with, and that I'm really walking in what I've felt called to in my life. Did it all go according to plan? The honest answer is no, because I wouldn't have been able to plan it in this way.
Yeah.
I think to be able to forecast with that degree of clarity and certainty is quite challenging. It almost feels like there's this path that I've walked, but throughout my life I've only had light on it enough to see what the next step is. And I felt like there was always a broader vision around what I was called to and what I should pursue over time. But there was never a step-by-step plan in terms of how that would work out and what that would look like. So it was very much thinking, this is the broader vision of where do I feel called to, and just consistently taking small steps along that path. And I think I'm still doing that. It's very much a continuous process, and I think sometimes I think my personality as well wants to lay everything out in advance and understand what is the next 10, 15 years going to look like. And you have a lot of, life coaching or self-help advice out there that encourages you on that route. But it's difficult to know what life would look like in that sense. I think maybe if I can share a story from when I was still studying that really shaped how I think around this, is I was dabbling a bit with startups at university, and there was this app that I was looking to build and launch on campus that helped you to better remember people's names after you had met them. Because I came in, I was meeting so many people, and I
remember this so well.
Do you?
Yeah, we had a chat about this years back.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
cool.
I I was really struggling with that, and I felt like I wanted to be able to remember people's names, and so I realized, sure, I'm not the only one with this problem. So let me see if there's something we can do here. So went through the whole process of building that, launching that, got some nice traction on campus, but not to the extent that there was a business model there that was sustainable. And then I in that process, I was planning out step by step what I thought the future of this was going to look like, and I thought we had to hit these milestones and get to this point, and I had a whole roadmap for what I thought the journey ahead would entail, and then it started not working out that way, and we then tried to pivot a little bit and look, okay, if we're not focusing on your sort of consumer facing business that's trying to build mass adoption, let's maybe look at the corporate space. Is there something we can do in linking people together in the corporate space, maybe breaking down some silos that you see in larger corporates? And once I started letting go of those expectations and plans, I really felt like God started to lead me along a slightly different path. And that's when I started thinking along these lines. And the opportunity then came up to spend a couple months at Stanford in a technology and innovation program there, where they effectively open up the university for that summer semester to international or students who aren't enrolled full-time there. And was fortunate enough to be accepted to that, but then the finances was a massive element of going across. I'd been studying for 2-3 years already, and the cost just for those 2 months was multiples of what those years had cost. Yeah. And then started reaching out, really felt like this was what I should be doing. And the opportunity came up to speak to one of the members who'd been part of the founding team of Capitec. Went through the one evening for dinner there with another friend from Res at the time, and basically said, listen, this is the opportunity on the table. This is the business that I'm trying to grow in the background. Is there anyone that you know or any corporate that might be interested in sponsoring something like this? And he said, Chris, at some point someone's going to have to step up and pay. So let me know how much you need. Send me your bank details. And 2 weeks later, I had all the funds I needed to go across. And I really felt like that was something along the path that I couldn't forecast at all.
Yeah.
Like that favor and that generosity from someone wasn't even in my frame of reference. And that really set me up for a lot of what has come over the more recent years. And that's where I learned to hold on to these goals and plans lightly. Sure. That there's this vision that should be a broad guide and what you feel called to, and that what that looks like along the way, we can step out in faith and in courage in certain areas. But if it doesn't work out as we planned, that's not an issue. And if you hold lightly onto those, and I think you can pivot and move along that path in an effective way, and not feel like if one step of that path is not doesn't materialize the way you think it would, that your journey's over. Definitely isn't.
So you hold on to your goals lightly, but it seems like the vision / calling that you have, you hold on to more tightly. What are those things that you hold on to more tightly?
It's a great question. And I think that vision, yes, is something that in my life hasn't really changed. I think as you mature as a person, I think that vision starts to become clearer. And I think I realized for different people that vision becomes clear at different phases or at different points in life. for me, I think my personality also wants that clarity as soon as possible. So I really pressed into that, and I felt that was really a call that God was giving me, and so I was really intentional around that time, to make sure that I was hearing correctly and that I knew what I should be pursuing. So that vision for me was, what had a few facets to it. The one was that I wanted to walk a journey with the Lord in a way where I could be part of what He wanted to do in the world. And I didn't have clarity around exactly what that looks like, but that was the first element, that there was this faith walk that was central to it. The second was that I felt called to build a family that reflects something special to the world, that reflects a love and a unity and a forgiveness, and a grace that the world would see something special in, and to raise children who carry that mantle as well. And then the third was to be a business builder, and to build something that offers value to the world, and to see a space where something didn't exist before and go out and create that. That I've always felt inside me is that desire to pursue new things, and to create something where there was previously nothing before. So that's really been the vision. I think those three areas that has driven a lot of my thinking.
That's very high level, actually, because that can look so different
Yes.
to what you're doing now, but it can still fall under that vision, which is really cool, because when I think about that, there's not a lot of pressure on what you do exactly when it comes to this vision. You mentioned family, you mentioned building things of value. That can take many shapes and forms. So it's quite liberating if I think about that, and just being obedient to that and not feeling you have to get every step right in that vision.
Yeah, 100%. It really feels like there. I think there is the opportunity for each of us to have a sort of broad sense around what the path for our lives might entail.
Yeah.
But the specifics and the bricks along that path, we don't always know what that's going to look like, and that's all right. I think for me, that's brought a lot of freedom. Is that I don't need to forecast the future, and I can take faithful small steps as that clarity arises and test it against that broader vision.
That's good. That's good. The first thing you mentioned when we started this conversation, when I asked you, who are you? You said you're a child of God. How does that change the way you work and the way you make decisions? Especially around work. Let's focus on work and career. Being a child of God, how does that change the way you work and make decisions?
I think as time goes on, I'm realizing it has a far greater influence than what I initially thought. And I think it often in a workspace leads you to live in a way that in our culture is contrary to that. I think the way to best articulate it is, often we find ourselves working for ourselves to advance our own aspirations and desires, and for the income that comes from that as well. But I think knowing who we are and ultimately who we serve shifts that in a way where our work is, or in my life personally, where I see my work as a service to the Lord, and being faithful in what He has entrusted me to steward, and that I'm actually working not for myself, but simply because I've been entrusted with certain skills, gifts, capital, and my work is a stewarding of that. So I think it takes away a lot of that personal ambition that can often drive our efforts in work, and pushes it more towards an attitude of service. And that for me is really significant, and I'm still early in that journey as well. And I'm starting to realize that the influence of that will be significant on the work that I feel led to do over the course of my life.
You seem, and as I've come to know you, like you're a very meticulous guy. You're intentional. You don't just do things for the sake of doing it. You give us thought and you reason through whatever you want to do. So with that in mind, I'm curious to know what are perhaps one or two habits that you have in place, non-negotiable habits, that have had the biggest impact on your life.
It's another good question. You've
Hey,
got
stop it.
cracking questions here this morning.
None of them are written down, but it just comes to mind.
You're just that good.
Yes, man.
I think maybe as a starting point that habits are crucial, and I think the value of them compounds over time, and that small consistent efforts have, I think, a lot more influence on our lives than what we might think. The first is starting your day right. I think when I stepped onto the trading floor, it's a space where the world is changing every day, and there's a whole bunch of information that comes at you, and your day can quickly be dictated by what is happening in the markets and the moves happening around the world. So to take ownership of the start of your day is crucial, and for me that means spending time in solitude, in scripture, and spending time with the Lord, and that is really the foundation of strength that allows you to enter the day, or allows me to enter the day with clarity, conviction, and the stability to be able to engage with whatever comes in the day. The other is I think more broadly as a priority is to make sure that first things are put first. And for me now in the season of marriage, that means being really intentional around making time to spend with my wife. And that is that in terms of that broader vision as well, and that family as this nucleus almost of strength is critical to build, because it's from that place of strength in the home that I think we go out and we can be really effective in the other callings that we feel led to pursue. So for me, it's the best way probably to describe it is to make sure your home base is strong, and to move from there, and to be really consistent in those efforts. And I acknowledge that different seasons of life can make that observing those habits easier or more challenging. And I think stepping into the space where I am now, where there's a bit more autonomy around how I'm able to structure the day, it does make it easier to get to those things than in a corporate context. But I think there's value in recognizing the season that you're in, and if it's in a corporate context where there's a bit more structure around your day, to realize you're going to be or need to be a bit more intentional around these things. Otherwise, those constant demands of the outside world might creep into those spaces.
You've had to make a few big decisions in life. I'm thinking about the decision to go to Stanford and raising money for that, the decision to move back to Joburg and go to Investec, and then perhaps more recently doing your own thing and going out of that comfort zone, that safety net of corporate to taking the plunge. And I think many people who might be listening to this are perhaps where you were at when at Investec and ready to take the jump. How do you go about making big decisions in life?
It's one that I've grappled with a lot over time, and I think as I face big decisions now is one that I also grapple with. I don't think there's a tried and tested approach that I have, but I think something that I really try to do in making big decisions is to make as an informed decision as what I can, and as much as I think there's an appreciation and almost a joy in taking risk, there's a aspect of me that really wants to de-risk big decisions as well. I think it's Jim Collins who writes about, I think he calls it deathline risks, which is risks in business that if that decision doesn't work out, then the business effectively goes under. And those are the kind of decisions that I want to avoid. And to make sure that the risk that you're taking in your decision is not one that can completely sink the boat. So for me, in terms of the decision to step out of Investec and pursue the current business was one where I didn't want to step out without any idea of what I was stepping into. And so for me, it was a journey actually of many years in the crypto space that I had been walking while I was building a skill set at university and then in the corporate space, that I'd walked to allow a depth of insight into that market that was needed in order to pursue a business in that field. What I also needed to do was very honestly assess the nature of the opportunity that I was seeing and what I thought the returns of that opportunity would look like. And I really felt I could only step out and pursue that if there would be enough capital to sustain just your day-to-day living expenses in pursuing that. I didn't want to step out and after a month have lost all the capital that I had to play with and then be stuck in a bit of a limbo. Yeah. So for me, that de-risking process was one, identifying the opportunity and then validating it as far as possible. And that validation will look different for different business opportunities. But for me, it entailed looking back on historical patterns in the market. How did the market typically perform? Understanding how the trading strategies would perform in different regimes. And that came from just on the side at university doing some of the trading and realizing there were periods of time where some strategies performed really well. And then there was maybe a year or two where the returns there were very subdued. And to to realize that there are these ebbs and flows what was really important, and to ask, do I have the capital to sustain a period where there's now an ebb in the market and you don't have the kind of profitability that you thought you might get. So for me, I had a really clear conviction around the thesis that I had for this new opportunity, and that was supported by data, experience, a skill set to build up the confidence that was necessary to make that call. So I hope that answers the question well. And there are others who are more comfortable to jump out not knowing what that looks like, and take that risk and maybe end up in exactly the same space because that opportunity was there. They had the skills and the talent and the resources to execute on it. But for me, that's a level of risk that I'm not comfortable taking. So again, it aligns to that longer term vision that I'd felt called to be a business builder. And so while I was in corporate, I was intentionally saving, investing, building my knowledge and experience, that when it felt like the season was right to make that call, everything was in place to do it effectively. So it was a journey that was probably 7-8 years in the making to get there.
Amazing. I actually listened to something this morning which really just emphasizes your point. We often see these entrepreneurs taking these massive leaps and just thinking they have gone cold turkey, all in. This doesn't work out there on the street. But this guy specifically speaking seems like that type of guy. But he said, no, he's been working on this business that is super successful today many years prior when he had a safe job. He said when you work a 9 to 5, you've got 5 to 9 in the morning and you've got 5 to 9 in the evening where you can work on your side hustle or whatever the project may be. So de-risk it as much as possible. And what he did is when that side project started making the same amount of money as his 9 to 5, then he could make the decision to take the jump. But also even de-risking it more and saying, cool, I need to make the same amount of money in my side project as my 9 to 5 for 6 months so that you can pick up the ebbs and flows and see on the down months, can you still make it?
Yes.
Etc. So
that's an awesome perspective. And if I can maybe jump in there, I think what excites me about hearing other people speaking in that way is I think there's something counter to, I think, that whole startup mentality that is maybe built up over the past 10-15 years, and that is to pursue sustainable cash flow generative businesses, because I think we've seen a lot of really successful businesses start with loss-making strategies, and that's supported by the whole venture capital ecosystem. And there's a space for that. But the sense that I get from other friends who've started businesses recently as well, and I've learned, or who have started a few years before me, who I learned a huge amount from, is there's immense value in looking at building a business slightly differently to that growth at all costs and taking all the risk that you possibly can. I think something that was quite encouraging to see, and people will have different opinions on Sam Altman, but he's got a brilliant track record of identifying and growing or highly impactful businesses. And he recently made a comment that probably one of the only real advantages in the startup space at the moment is building with a 10-year mentality. So hiring, raising capital, building a business with that view. And I think it speaks to that sustainability of not trying to grow something that looks attractive at all costs. Try exit and extract as much value as you can, and then leave someone else to deal with the aftermath. But to build something that is sustainable, that offers value consistently over time. I think we're seeing more of that in the world. And when I think when you approach projects or new opportunities in that way, there's actually a lot of exciting things that come from it.
That's good. That's good. One question that I'm curious to ask, based on what you touched on earlier in your upbringing, you mentioned adventure, and you grew up in a very adventurous family. How has that impacted who you are today, what you're doing today, and the decisions you've made to get to where you are today? I ask this question because I often regret that I wasn't more adventurous as a child. It feels like I was a bit of a softie. And I just see friends of mine who were adventurous and who are adventurous. And how thrilling and exciting that sounds, because the older I get, the more I realize life is an adventure.
Yeah.
And if you get used to the adventure on an early stage, it gets a bit more exciting and more fun. So back to my question, how did adventure at a young age shape who you are today?
Yeah, I think it was huge. And I think as a child, what's exciting about it is adventure is often closely tied with fun.
Yeah.
And so you have this connotation that's built up over time, that it's really exciting to be adventurous, to explore new things and to take risks. And that's really what I see in how my mentality has been shaped in my more recent years through that aspect of my childhood. Is I think there's a piece of when you get on your motocross bike and there's this new jump that you're planning to hit, and you like 9-10 years old and this thing is like twice your height, that there's an element of fear there and uncertainty of what is this going to look like. But I actually want to take it on and I want to give it a go. And within like a de-risked environment, my dad, with the prayers of my mom at home, we're really good at creating a safe environment to take those risks. What it does is it gives you the opportunity to step out, almost encourage, and then come out the other side and see that was 100% worth pushing through that bit of fear and being courageous in that moment. So
it's good.
So there's that aspect of your relationship with risk, and there's also the other aspect of almost like a pioneering spirit. Like my Boet and I, in our little garden, we would build these little jumps for our mountain bikes, and we would put some bubble wrap over it at night, so if it rained, the jumps wouldn't get damaged. I don't know if it was the best way to preserve them, but there was also this dynamic of seeing something that's not there and an opportunity to have a lot of fun here in the garden, and going out and creating something there and then enjoying almost the fruits of it. And that's so much how I think about the world today, is when I think about risk and opportunities and stepping into the unknown. For me, that the connotations with that is excitement and passion, and there's something new there to be found and discovered. And I think it's because I've had such a good relationship with taking risk over the years, and a lot of that is centered in those adventure activities. And maybe just to say as well, you also know where to learn where the line is, and to know sometimes there are risks that are not worth taking, and there were definitely times where on the motocross bike you take a risk that was a big one to take, and then you pay the price. The one day my but and I were drag racing in the rain, in the mud, and he was a bit ahead of me, and I really wanted to beat him, so I gave a bit of extra gas towards the end of the track, and it meant that by the time we were all starting to slow down, I was still going a lot faster than anyone else. And my butt really reasonably slows down and starts turning off the track, but he turns straight in front of me, and I T-boned him on our bikes, and I'm flying there, lying in the mud. My butt's also down in the mud. Thankfully for the Lord's protection, we were all all right. But that was a risk that was not worth taking. And like as a small kid, those are really valuable lessons, I think, to learn. And those are ones we can still learn in safe ways today. We don't have to. The only opportunity to learn them wasn't at a small age. It might be, in our own lives. I think there are small ways that we can take risks and almost exercise that muscle.
That's so good. I'm so glad I asked that question. I've received a lot of value from that, and I'm going to keep that in mind when I raise my kids one day. God, they'll be more adventurous than I was. Chris, we like to end off this podcast with a few quick fire questions. Sometimes it's difficult to keep it quick fire with these questions, but try your best. I'm going to start off with, what are your top 4 priorities in life, in order?
Faith, family, work, and friends. And that's largely come from my dad, and I think articulating it clearly has helped a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
When you feel overwhelmed or demotivated, what do you do?
I try to take a step back, especially in terms of feeling overwhelmed, and it happens easily in the trading space if markets are moving against you. The worst thing to do is make emotionally driven decisions. So I take a step back. I realize operating from a place of panic is not where you want to be. And then often I get perspective from that.
If you could have dinner with any 3 people, living or dead, who would they be?
Sure.
Just a disclaimer that I always have to add.
Yeah.
You're going to think back to your answers later today and be like, oh, I should have added this person, or I shouldn't have said this person. But whoever comes to mind.
I would love to have had dinner with Peter, one of Jesus' disciples. Jim Simons, who founded Renaissance Technology. It's pretty undercover trading firm, but that has done really well. And JFK, wow, I think would be an interesting dinner as well.
What's one thing you're currently working on improving about yourself?
Making decisions from a place of stability and not from a place of emotion. And I see it quickly, or I can fall foul of that in the market space. Is emotions are easily tied to positions or exposure that you might have. So that's something I think each day I need to work on.
Metaphorically speaking, if you had a gigantic billboard that you could carry around with you wherever you go with a message on it, what is that message and why?
I would say make the vision clear. And for me, I think I've seen from what we chat about a bit earlier, the clarity and the conviction uh, that comes from a clear vision and knowing what you are called to pursue in life is immensely valuable, and it allows you to measure all other decisions against that, and to know, are you being faithful in that walk, and prevents you from being scattered. It allows you to, I think, be really effective in what you take on.
Chris, thank you so much. I was so lucky talking to you, and I actually want to honor your parents for the space they've created for both you and your brother to become such exceptional human beings by the grace of God. Thank you for keeping the main thing the main thing. Thank you for being so humble in your pursuit of excellence. It's super inspiring for me, and I look forward to many more conversations.
Okay, thanks, Rudolph.
Thanks,
This was
brother.
great.
Lekker.